Hi, it's Cara from CaraWild.com, and today I am presenting you with a series of 3 videos. And the series is about how I transitioned from working with one collective called Aurora to another collective called the Ancients. Now, for those of you that don't know me, I am a channel. I verbally channel a collective called the Ancients now, and I teach other people how to channel, and I also offer channeled readings for people and mentorships. So some of you, if you've been following my blog posts, if you're in my community, you know already that I've been working with the collective called the Ancients for a while. But I haven't really taken the time to share exactly how that process happened for me. And that's what I want to do today. So the first video is about how the change happened, moving from working with one collective to another. The second video is about how I integrated that into my life and how you might integrate working with the guide into your life and what to expect, what that might be like. And the third video is about how I have integrated them into my everyday life, and it's kind of like, how does channeling show up in my work, my family, what changes have happened, and how I use my ability to channel on a day-to-day basis. So the first in this series is about how the transition happened. So I've had quite a few people say, did Aurora just disappear? Did the Ancients land with this big fanfare? Did you ask for them consciously to come in? Kind of what happened? So first of all, if you're working with a collective now, if you're working with a guide, you can always ask for whatever guide you want to work with. And what I teach in my course is a really conscious way of calling a guide to you, the highest guide that is available for you right now. And I always say, if you don't like the guide, you can ask for another one. It's got to be, it's like they're going to be a friend for life, hopefully, or as Aurora was for 7 years. But it's got to feel right to you. It's got to feel like, it kind of feels like, to begin with, like an extension of your personality. When you first meet your guide, you're kind of like, oh, I recognize you. There's a familiarity to you. You're very similar to me, and it does feel like just this higher expression of your own personality. So you absolutely can consciously call in a guide. And the way that this collective landed with me was very similar to the way that Aurora landed. So I never consciously called Aurora in to work with as a guide and to consciously verbally channel. It happened. And the same thing with the Ancients. I never consciously called in a new collective. It happened. But in retrospect, both times I was asking for something new from life. So those of you that know my story about connecting with Aurora 7 years ago, it came as a result of me casting a circle of light in my back garden and asking how I could be a channel of the light and help bring those energies I was feeling in the non-physical realm into the earth plane now. And how could I serve Source more effectively? And then life changes happened, and I ended up channeling the collective Aurora. And with the new people, with the new collective that came through, I'd already started to experience some changes in my meditations. I was starting to see myself, I was starting to catch glimmers of myself being blue and really associating with Syrian energy a lot more than I'd been associated with Palladian energy, which is kind of where me and Aurora first hooked up, I think, in a different parallel life, in a past life, in a parallel life, past life, future life, whatever, in another life. That's where we hooked up. And I started to feel more and more Syrian, and I started to want to wear more blue, and just subtle things like that. And one day I was out walking with Ian, who was my partner at the time, on an everyday kind of walk, and I just felt this new energy land. And I remember it really clearly because we were walking through the fields on the edge of the coast near where I live. And I felt taller, I felt more regal, and I felt more ease, and felt softer and gentler. And more expansive. It just kind of landed. And I know after all these years of working on the energy levels and subtle energy, I knew that something new was coming into my life. And in retrospect, I had been asking to live in a different way. I was asking to live with more ease and more gentleness towards myself, more unconditional love towards myself. And I was kind of asking for a bigger life as well. So even though I didn't consciously call in the ancients, I called in that new energy that they are a part of. And then I think it was like a week or two after that, I remember saying to me, oh, something just feels really different and I don't know what it is. Work carried on as normal. And then one evening, you know, this cosmic stuff is so grounded in my life. I was sat in the living room watching TV and just felt this urge to go and meditate and connect inside and thought, oh, there's something going on. And turned the TV off and just sat there, and Aurora has only shown up to me physically in my life a couple of times. One when I was doing a workshop and I was really panicking and they came into the hotel room as a beam of like an orb of light. And this time was one of the other times where I saw them physically manifest as what looked like a goddess energy, definitely a female. I always experienced Aurora as a female. And just for an instant, saw them manifest physically in my living room and thought, oh, something's going on. So closed my eyes, went into a meditation space, into my third eye space, and connected with them on that dimension. And that's when they said, our time together is ended. And I was like, what? And my usual go-to is just like, what have I done? And, you know, no rejection or abandonment issues at all. So I was just, okay, what's going on? And they explained to me really clearly that they had come to pave the way in part for me working with this new collective. And I was stunned, but at the same time not surprised. It really made sense, and it made sense of all the subtle changes that I'd been kind of feeling. So I burst into tears, and Aurora has always taught me lessons around codependency. I used to argue with them, I used to get annoyed with them, as well as playful and joyful and loving, but I used to experience the full range. And what they always taught me is they never moved from their truth, and they never wavered from their love. They were always really connected in their true self, you know. And they did the same again, and they were just like, there is no sadness from our experience, because this is the perfect unfolding of life giving itself to you. This is what's next for you. It's been our honour and our pleasure to connect with you, and now we are equally happy to move on, because this is the best thing for you, and therefore it is the best thing for us, and therefore the best thing for everybody. And that's one of the things that gets really missed about working with your guides, especially if you verbally channel them, because I always say when you verbally channel your guide, you have a completely different experience of it than if you just work in the mental realm, which is why I only teach, which is why I teach verbally channeling your guide. And in that moment, they taught me one of the biggest truths of life, which is whatever is for my highest good has got to be for the highest good of all, because that's what they were saying to me. Even though I'm like, I don't want to stop working with you, I really like working with you, and just this kind of natural grief and natural sadness. So that was it. They kind of went, and I felt them go, and it kind of really showed me how much I'd got used to them being in connection with my auric field. I always teach that you take your guides out on the road with you. So I used to take them everywhere, and I used to, you know, see their name in different places. They were just my best friends in a way. So that's kind of how the transition happened. And then the new collective, they came in straight away. There was no swap over, although I will talk about it in the next video. There was an integration period and things that I needed to do so that I could hold their energy, because they came in with a very high vibration. And when I verbally channel, you bring that vibration into your body. And there were some things that they told me to do so that my nervous system could cope with that amount of electromagnetic energy, so that they didn't fry me, as they said. So I shifted from working with Aurora, who felt like a real personal guide. You know, she was just there for me, and I happened to share her with people that wanted readings because people asked me for readings. And they always said to me, our primary purpose is to help you make your life more joyful, and if we then can help other people do the same, we will. But they were there for me, and that's one of the hardest things I find my students have, is letting that in, that the guides are there just for them, because you can feel this mass expansion of energy and love, and there's a part of you that never can quite believe that they're there just for you. And that's what I want to bring up in the second video, is what the ancients said to me, what your guides can say to you, what it feels like when a guide chooses you, and how to begin to integrate their energy into your life. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you on video 2.